You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Hello, everybody. I'm here with my co-host, Ronda Chervin, on our show, The Dynamic Duo. And if Al Hughes appears, the third person that engages in this, then we call it the Tremendous Trio. I'm going to start us with a prayer now. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Amen.
All right. So what it is daily conversations with my husband. And so what I had decided to do is write a book called 6 Feet Over, as opposed to 6 Feet Under. Daily conversations with my second dead husband. And so I was using it to try to explain how I'm working through widowhood. I'm sure that Rhonda worked through it a different way. I worked through it a different way with the first husband. So I think it has something to offer, because people look at you after, say, 3 months and they say, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you over it yet? Haven't even started yet, and it's like, why aren't I over it? Anyway, so I thought it would give people more of a realistic idea of what goes through people's minds when their spouse dies, and for a long time. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I don't know if that's something that you are interested in or not.
Yeah, I don't know. When I lost Jeannie, it was a long, slow decline, and I think it was a relief for both of us when she finally died, because it was just a slow decline until right near the end.
I happen to have written a booklet on the subject of euphemisms, which is called Tinsel Talk. And in that little booklet, I mentioned, among other things, people who no longer use the word died, but say, I lost him when I lost my husband. And, or they say passed on, or they say whatever. And
he's gone.
Okay, so that's in certain ways a euphemism for died. On the other hand, after years of thinking about these euphemisms, it seems to me that by now the word died sounds so awful that you just have to put it in the title and people won't pick it up. So you might consider whether you want to use a euphemism, such as when my second husband passed on, or when my second husband left this earth, or something, but the blunt word died, dead, my second dead husband, sounds so final.
Well, it kind of is.
So we believe that we will be together. But it's not final for this earth, but it's not final in terms of the relationship, since we believe that we will see these people in purgatory or heaven. We don't believe they're in hell and we'll never see them again, or that they're just finished. So I think you might consider the title, just consider changing it, perhaps. That's my comment.
Yeah, when my second husband died, I realized, and I think I told you this last week, it was the first time I realized that why people say he's gone, instead of he's dead. Because really, he is gone. And, he's also dead, of course, but he is gone. He's no longer here. He's somewhere else. His body is here, but he's not. What makes him is gone. So,
that itself is controversial insofar as two friends of mine who I knew very well, both of whom had extremely loving marriages, they didn't experience their spouse as gone. They experienced their wife or husband as absolutely with them spiritually in a tangible way, such that they could talk to them all day long easily and feel that they were present right in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, that didn't happen. Both of my husbands are gone. And I'm using the word gone in the sense that they are no longer part of the living. They have left this planet or wherever we go. So, that is the way I'm using it. But I don't know. I am trying to find the outline that I sent. And it has disappeared. Honestly. Here it is. Okay, so I can certainly change the title. That's not a big deal. My second dead husband could be my second husband is gone or something like that. So what I did, as you can see, is I came up with a list of the things that I talk to Bill about when I go to his grave. And keep in mind that I can only go to his grave. Usually they open it like in late April and they close it in mid-October or November, because in Vermont, we have so much snow that if someone wanders into the cemetery and doesn't have a cell phone with them and they break a leg, they could very easily die there. So they lock the cemetery up and you cannot go into it again until they open it in the spring. So this is like 6 months worth, so approximately 6 months of the year you can go to the cemetery. And unless we're having horrific weather like a thunderstorm, I go every day to the cemetery to see him when it's open. And so I talk to him. And I think, most people probably think I'm nuts if they're walking by and I'm standing there talking to a gravestone. But I talk to him on a variety of topics, just as I would have if he was sitting across from me at the kitchen table. And so I made a list of some of them, actually 11 of them. And, it's not like I'm asking for his advice, because I don't expect to get an answer. If that happens, I'll be a little concerned. But I do about my mind or about something else. I don't know what. But so I talk to him about what I'm doing or what's important in my life at this time. I tell him every time as soon as I get there that I love him. And I tell him the same thing when I leave. Even if he can't hear me, at least I know that I've said it. And I always close it with a Hail Mary. And I ask Mary to, watch over him. So that stuff is normal, I think. I don't know. But anyway, it's the topics that I thought I would put into the book. And the first one was an unhappy ending. And what I'm thinking of there is that this man was the love of my life. He was my second husband, but he was the love of my life. And I hoped that, if anything, that I would die before he would. Obviously, that did not happen because I did not want to live without him. And actually, I was right about that, because after he died, I was not the same person, and I still am not. It's like you lose your core. It's like you lose your heart. And it's hard to act like everything is normal when the most important part of your life is gone. So I wanted to talk about that because I talk to him about that. Every time I tell him I love him, that he is the love of my life, that, all of that sort of thing which you'd hear in a movie and you'd think is all sappy. But in our case, it was true. And I know that because I was married previously and he also died. So this was a much happier situation for both of us, I think. And in the second chapter, I want to talk about that daily visit. It's like he was buried 3 days when they closed the cemetery for the winter in 2 years ago when he died. And I couldn't go into the cemetery because they have gates and they lock them. And I'm way too old to try scaling a link fence. That's not going to work. They'll find me in the spring impaled on the fence, so frozen. So anyway, I like to go every day unless it's bad weather. And I have done that since the day after he died, although then I was only able to go for 3 days before they closed the cemetery because he died November 28th. And then the snow comes. And when we get snow up here, we're not fooling around. We are trying to imitate the North Pole. So then I don't get to see him. But I needed some kind of comfort, like I could still talk to him. So every time that I go, as I'm leaving, because it is a kind of isolated place, as I'm leaving, I always say to him, I will always love you. I'm always in love with you. And don't you dare forget it. And the only way I can do that in the winter is as I drive by the cemetery, I scream it, because I know exactly where his grave is in relation to that street. And so I'm, it's like, don't you forget I love you. And I always will. It's the only way I feel like I still have contact with him. I know it sounds a little weird, but until you really love somebody that much, and, if you're a person like me, you've got to say it. You've got to show it,
Could we make any comments along the line?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So one of the things you may not have related this to what you said is from the Jewish philosopher Martin Buber. He was the big Jewish existentialist philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a book called I and Thou.
Yes.
And the gist of it was that there is a part of yourself, your I. There's a part of yourself that is part of this relationship to this other person, the thou. So the word thou is from, in German, he was a German. Yeah. You have a difference between a thou and an impersonal thing and a thou, which is more personal. Okay, so when you have an I-thou relationship of love to a person versus the I-it relationship you have to a painting. So if a painting was stolen, it's not the same that your whole. So when someone leaves this world, then that part of you that was part of that I-thou relationship no longer can flourish because of that. So that's what you mean when you say there's part of me that now is gone. I can't be the same me. So it's very real in terms of suppose, which isn't true, but suppose you fell in love with a third man. Still, the you that you were, the you that loved this man is a different part of the you. Than you had with your second husband. See, so that explains in a philosophical way what you're describing in a felt way. But what is fascinating me, Cynthia, is that you keep saying, "I'm leaving him. I'm talking to him," and yet you say he's gone. So, in a way, you're just talking to him in this very loving way aloud means that on some level you think he's not gone. He's just invisible, but he's not gone.
Well, I think the important thing in the word gone is I know that he is alive somewhere, hopefully in heaven, or at worst in purgatory. And so I know he's existing somewhere. And I really don't know, can people hear or not? But even if they can't hear, it is so important for me to say that to him, even if he'll never hear it. It is so important because it is me. It's like my heart is broken, and my heart will never be the same, even if I live another 50 years, which won't happen, of course. But it's shattered. The man was absolutely the center of my life. And then, one day he just is gone. And so for me to remain me, I have to talk to him.
Yeah, so
And
it seems to me.
Yeah.
It seems to me the book is very important. I want to encourage you. The book is very important because there may be other people who haven't thought this out, but who, if they read your book, would in fact start talking to whoever in their lives is closest to them who died, will start talking to them and could have that same good effect on them that it does. It revives your eye of the I thou with Bill. So I could do that with my husband or my son or my daughter and bring forth again that the deeper relationship, which wasn't just chatting about daily events.
Right. We really actually grew into one person. And I had never had that experience before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my first husband, but we didn't grow into one. We were very different people. I think at some level I was similar to Bill, although looking at the two of us, you would think no. But he had a heart of gold. He would, this is a man that would rescue a kitten from the road so it wouldn't get hurt and then bring it home. He was just a tender, kind, loving man. And I was fortunately the one he loved. And I was also fortunate that I got to love him. And so to me, it's so important to talk to him, even when I can't get into the cemetery because of this ridiculous amount of snow we get up here. I can scream as loud as I can in the car with my windows shut. Don't you forget, I really love you. That sort of thing. It enables me to keep going on. So maybe I'm going crazy. I don't know. But I've been like that now since he died.
I don't think it's crazy at all. And I don't think anyone would think it was crazy. So I think it's just maybe other people are more inhibited or they'd never think of doing it, but there's nothing crazy about it. Why would you think so?
Because I never see anybody else doing it. And I never see anybody else up at the cemetery every day at the same time. But
well, they might not go to the cemetery every day, but I think there are plenty of widows, widowers, or parents of children who left this world. I think plenty of people talk to them during the day. I don't think it's unusual at all. They just wouldn't tell you, and they wouldn't say it aloud because they're not living in Vermont.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Al, what do you think? Do you talk to Jeannie?
No, I don't have that experience at all. What I really want to talk about is there's mention of he went somewhere. And I want to mention another book of that subject because I've been out of body myself. And I know, at least in the beginning stages of death, I know what happens. And I want to refer people to a book by Robert Spitzer. Title is Science at the Doorstep to God. There's a full chapter, 25 pages, of documented experiences of out-of-body experiences, and those people all, he concludes that they definitely have gone somewhere. They're not in their body, but they do exist, and they are going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm confident in that from a personal standpoint, because I have been out of body, and though it was only temporary, I definitely was not in the body, because I saw the body. It was over there, about 30 feet away. So anyway, the point being that truly, and this may be of comfort to people who aren't so sure, it's definitely, according to Spitzer, and he's got the documentation, people do go somewhere when they die. It's not over.
Yeah. And that is something that I really believe since I've become Catholic. And it gives me comfort to know that somewhere he is alive. And he was a good man. So, so anyway, that's...
and I think you can have confidence in where he is.
Yeah, I hope so. Interestingly, in chapter 4, this sounds a little weird, but I'm going to talk about Lulu the cat. So my husband was a great cat lover, and he found this Angora cat who had somewhat the personality of an angry rattlesnake. And he said, "This is the cat I want." Well, the cat was so big. We found her at the Animal Rescue League. He couldn't pick anything up anymore, so I had to pick up the cat carrying cage. We got her in the cat carrying cage, and I bent at the knees because I was afraid I'd hurt my back when I picked her up. I picked her up, no problem, 9 pounds, all fur. Anyway, we brought her home, and she was definitely his cat. And I mean, she'd sleep with him. She'd sit on his lap. I'd go near her, and she'd give me a kind of like funny look, like, "Don't do it." Don't you try to pet me. Don't you try to feed me. I'm his. Anyway, so it was an odd situation. And interestingly, I was just talking to Bob Mish. You remember him, right, Rhonda?
Yes.
And his mother died. And we were talking about interspecies love because his bird loved his mother. And so when Bill died, the cat obviously realized he wasn't around anymore. But she would go to his closet. So I had a closet and he had a closet. And the cat would go outside of that door and scream bloody murder. And I figured the only thing that could be happening was she could smell him. They've got very good noses. And she must have been able to smell him and thought he was hiding in there. So I'd open the door to the closet and she'd run in, and then she'd just look around and look confused, like she couldn't understand. And I thought, it was really sad to see this, so eventually I took all of his shirts and I cut them up, and I'm making a crazy quilt. I don't know if either of you know what that is. It's a Victorian quilting. So I'm making a crazy quilt of his shirts to be buried with me. But anyway, the cat has become my faithful companion, but she still goes and stands in front of that closet door and just looks there, and all the clothes are gone now. But she associated his smell, I think, with that. And it's interesting to see this interspecies love. It's not love, obviously, like humans would have it. But she missed him, and it's just sad. It's not just humans that miss, Obviously, they don't have souls, but they do have senses. And so I talked to him about her. and I tell him that she's okay and that I took her to the vet and got her nails clipped, just normal things you talk to with your husband at the dinner table, So I talk about her. The interesting thing about Bill is one of the interesting things about Bill was he was a truck driver, a construction truck driver. He was taken out of school when he was in the 4th grade, which is not unusual in Vermont. His father had jumped off the back of the milk wagon that he delivered milk in and broke both his legs. So he took Bill out of school to work. And Bill worked from the time he was taken out of 4th grade, which is probably age 10, until he was 85. And he died at 87. And so he was a hard worker. But interestingly, he was amazingly creative. Yes, I was talking about you. It's the cat. He was amazingly good at design. So I crochet every day and I quilt every day. And so he looked at what I was doing one day and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Crocheting." And he said, "Those colors don't go together." And so I humored him, which is kind of funny in hindsight. I humored him and he started to put together like fabric that I should use together for quilts and yarn that I should use together for crocheting. And we made a rug together. He looked at the rug I was making and he said, "What are you doing with those colors?" And I said, "Well, if you think, you can do better, the yarn's in the other room." So he went in, he got all these different colors, brought them out, and I did the rug in the colors he had chosen, thinking, "Oh, brother." We took it to the Big E, which is a big fair here in New England. So I walked in, and now the only thing I did was the actual work. He did the designing. And so that rug got first place, blue ribbon, a rosette for best use of color, and a rosette for best use for best of the fair, best of show. And the next year when we went to the Big E, that rug was on the cover of the premium book. So after that so after that experience, everything I made, I allowed him to choose the colors. In the end, he had something like 285 blue ribbons from the fairs that we went to. I have them all in the drawer in the living room. The man.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful memory, but what a wonderful complementary occupation between the
Yeah. So he
that's so marvelous.
Yeah.
So definitely you should put this into the book.
Yes. He was so smart. I mean, if he had been able to go even through high school, or college, he was a designer. He knew what he was doing with colors in a way no one else did that I've ever met. And I said to him, "How did you learn to do this?" So he was a truck driver, and he thinks it was because he thought it was because he was a truck driver driving around Vermont in the fall when all the colors are changing. And he just kind of picked up what went together. Like usually you don't think of putting purple and red and yellow together, but he would, and it would work. And you see it all the time up here in the fall. So he, the crafts that I do now, I haven't been getting many blue ribbons, but anyway, it's just a joy to me to work. It also relaxes me to quilt and or to crochet every day, relaxes me, and it makes me feel like I'm with him. Every night we'd watch the news together, Lester Holt, and we'd be sitting on a little love seat in the living room. And I would be crocheting, and he would be rolling balls of yarn. And there are no words to express how much I miss that companionship. Just sitting there, he's rolling balls of yarn quietly, and I'm crocheting quietly, and we're listening to Lester Holt. So, so the crafts, when I go to the grave, I talk to him about it. And I say, well, I'm starting a new quilt, and I remember when you put these colors together, that sort of thing, So I'm talking to him again, like you're sitting at the dinner table.
Okay, you never get a sense that he's giving you some sort of answer to something you do, like a nudge or something?
No, but what I do feel is like I'm closer to him.
Okay.
It's like I feel like he hears me, and that he still cares,
Okay, now I had a similar experience. Is my Mahler, and he wrote a whole one-woman show about Alma Mahler, the wife of Gustav Mahler, dialoguing about her husband. As a matter of fact, it's a play with her talking about her husband, like you're talking about your husband right now. So anyway, so we used to listen to Mahler's music all the time. Mahler was a Jew who became a Catholic, but he didn't go to church much at all, but he took in the whole theology of the Catholic Church, and he wrote this beautiful music about eternity and the angels and all sorts of beautiful things. Anyway, so many of them have beautiful choral passages. So he used to play Mahler's music all the time. Well, I listened to it in such a way that now, 35 years later, I started playing one after the other the symphonies of Mahler. And it meant something totally different to me now, because it wasn't something he was listening to well. It was him suddenly, because he loved it so much. So it feels as if now he fills my little room and my assisted living with his presence, because I'm listening to what he loved. See? So I think people are going to get these realizations when they read a book like the one I just gave.
Yeah.
They're going to realize that in widowhood, the person far from being gone, people are going to realize that they are experiencing there's someone who died before, but in an unexpected way. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. I also, when I go, I talk about the work changes. Of course, when he died, I was still working online at Holy Apostles, but I was no longer an administrator. So I told him how I'm doing at the new job, and that I like the people, and that they're very nice. They respect their employees. They're kind to them. Just so he'll know that I'm okay, financially, because, obviously I lost his pension and his Social Security. So I do talk to him about work changes and how much longer I want to work and why I want to work. Again, stuff like you talk about at the kitchen table. Chapter 7 is interesting because Bill was definitely the love of my life. I'm not saying my first marriage was bad, but Bill was a different type of person. And my first husband also died. He died of esophageal cancer. So, and I took care of him until he died. I actually held him up while he bled to death, but we never grew into one person the way that Bill and I did. So, I had decided after Bill died that I had no interest, and I still don't, any interest in ever marrying again. I do appreciate having men who are friends, because, then if something goes wrong, like, I need someone to hang up a nightshade or something, they'll come over and do it because they're friends, but so I don't want romance in my life again. Anyway, along comes this guy who knew Bill. And he came by and he said, where's Bill? Because, of course, I had 2 vans. One was his, one was mine. I sold them both and bought a car. So he knows there's a car missing and he hasn't seen Bill. So I said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. And he said, oh, he died? And I said, yes. So anyway, for 4 or 5 times over the next 4 or 5 weeks, he came to visit. And it was really awkward because it's like when you realize that you don't want another person, any other person, it's hard to get that point across without not insulting the person who's sitting there thinking he may be lucky. I mean, I'm 73 years old, for heaven's sakes. Leave me be. But the poor man, he came down 3 times. He said, do you mind if I stop by? And it's like, look, I don't mind if you stop by, but I'm only going to be your friend, And I mean, I don't know how clearer you can put that and still be polite. But I thought,
you should put that. You should put that in.
Oh, I'm going to.
For sure.
Yeah, because
seriously.
I don't. What's the expression when you've had the best, don't bother with the rest? I mean, it's like if you've had that kind of, this marriage was actually, it was as close to perfect as I could think of. Now, the first couple of years we had to get used to each other, and that's normal, and get a routine, all that sort of thing. But this was almost a perfect marriage. And so it's like, why would I even look for anyone else having had that? So.
Okay, Al, what would you say about that?
Well, I would like to respond to what she just said. A perfect marriage. It sounds like a good title for the book.
Yeah. It was a perfect marriage.
Yeah, there's your title right there.
Yeah. It took us a little while because we were so different. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but he said to me, he proposed to me. And of course I said yes. And he said, when we marry, you won't have to work anymore. I'll take care of you. And I said, no, I said, I have to keep working because I have a career. And he said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a professor. And he just went, what? I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe it. The man had a 4th grade education and he was like, why are you even looking at me? Because you're the nicest man I've ever met and you're good looking too, and you're nice. And it's like, it was hysterical. The expression on his face, I still laugh when I think of it. I mean, his jaw literally dropped. But I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird how life changes. It's sad how life changes. But yeah, so it was as close to a perfect marriage as you could get, I think. So I don't know. So anyway, in chapter 8, the question is who should be the heir? And so, of course, the problem is when you have a blended family, so to speak. We were both married before. His wife died of ovarian cancer. She had a quick death. The first time they gave her chemo, when it hit her heart, she had a fatal heart attack. So, he loved her. Bertha was a lovely woman. My first husband and I knew her and him because we camped where Bill was working part-time doing the directing of the campground. So we both knew, each of us knew the other's partner. And it's just, it's sad. Bertha was a nice woman and she just keeled over with cancer. So Bill got real nervous when I got throat cancer, but so far I've survived. Anyway, so the question became who should be the heir, because he has children and grandchildren, and I have children and grandchildren. And he also had a great-grandchild. I consider them now as being my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren also, because, we were married for a good long time and everybody got along, which is actually unusual, I guess. But so, that's the question that's going to be the hard one, because what do you do? It's not that I have a fabulous home, but I've got an 1,800 square foot home on 4.5 acres in Vermont. Somebody gets it. But I don't know who. And no matter how I do it, there's going to be hard feelings. So I do talk to him about that. And it's almost like the answer is have it go to the one who needs it the most. And he has a granddaughter whose husband seemed to be a nice man. And then he ended up being a heroin addict. And so the little girl that they had, the great-granddaughter, her mother is struggling to keep everything going. So, I guess that'll be who things will go to, unless, of course, something else occurs and someone else needs it more. But it's like, so I talked to him about that. And because I consider his family mine too, just as well as he considered my family to be his. And my kids and grandkids loved him. So it's, so it's that kind of weird situation that you just kind of wait and see. Although I did make out a will, because I can keel over tomorrow or get hit by a truck. You never know. Anyway, so chapter 9, I talked to him about how I feel. And the question is, a year later, he died November 28th, 2023. And he's dead more than a year.
22.
So 22. Yeah, so he's almost dead 2 years. And the question is, a year later, was it any better? Well, it was a little better in the sense that you get used to it. At first I'd come home and it's like, where is he? And I mean, that would last for half a second because I knew he wasn't here. But so 2 years later, is it any better? I got to honestly say I don't know, because there has not been one day since he died that at some point during the day I start to cry about him. I'm not depressed. I know that. I'm just missing him. And every day at some point, something will happen, like the cat will come running in and look at his closet, and that'll make me cry, or I'll run into one of his friends and they're asking me how I'm doing, and we start to talk about Bill stories, and that makes me teary. But I think that's normal. I mean, if you love somebody and 2 years later you just say, well, he's gone, ta-da. I mean, how can you be like that? It's like, I can't be. Every day, literally, there hasn't been a day that I haven't been in tears at some point. Not like a sobbing mess, but tears do come to my eyes. But on the other hand, I think I am beginning to accept that this is the rest of my life. That I will be probably in Vermont, and I will be in this house probably, and I will probably be, I intend to be I intend to be alone. Although I have thought that, I could bring in another woman, because I have a lot of room here. And 1,800 square feet is a lot for a person and a cat. but so, so that would certainly be something. Yes.
Realistically, you may need a helper. You think you're going to just never need a helper in your 80s and 90s?
Well, you never know. I mean, my parents lived into their 70s, which is where I am too. And I inherited heart disease. So I don't know if I'll make it to my 80s. I mean, I can keel over tomorrow. And I do have room here if I had to have help come in and live here. But meanwhile, while I don't need help, it's conceivable that that I could have a friend or something like that move in with me. So I do have new friends with common interests. Now that I'm alone, like the library here is very active. It has all kinds of programs like learning how to write a short story, learning how to write this, reading one author and everybody responding to what they think about the author. So I am getting new friends, and I'm almost a daily communicant at my parish. I try to get to Mass every day, but sometimes work intervenes. So I'm meeting people there, and I like them.
So I have to leave if I'm going to eat dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so go ahead and eat, and if you want to, you can listen to the last one after.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Oh, I'll listen to it after Sebastian. Okay. God bless you. And it was very, very interesting, Cynthia. It's a whole different understanding of your life. So thank you very, very much. God bless you. Bye-bye. Bless you both. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So the last one, Al, is just what to do with the remaining years. So if I do retire, which I assume I will at some point or whatever, what do you do with the remaining years? I mean, I'm thinking daily.
Yeah, Rhonda and I once wrote a book on that subject. And the title, I'll get to the title is "What Now? A Roadmap for 80 Years Old and Beyond." And you might want to grab a copy of that. But the basic idea, my experience is, you got to stay busy. I'm an extreme extrovert, so that means I've got to be socializing, and I do that primarily with. I play bridge anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. I'm getting involved now with the pastoral council over at the church. What else am I doing? I play Texas Hold'em, which is a poker game, on Monday night. Each of these activities involve crowds. Yeah. And even if there's no one around, if I've got a radio on, that seems to suffice to hear another voice.
Yeah.
For an introvert, and my wife was a strong introvert. I don't know what to say about that, but there is so much that can be done. A person who's wondering should kind of do a little catalog of what were they good at in their younger life. And then the next question would be, and how can I share that and apply that today? Internet's a great, for people who are even housebound, there's still the internet. They can reach out and touch someone. It's, recognize what you're, and you're creative and you're writing a book, and that has got to be a great comfort for you.
It is.
Others will. I had a good friend in Florida who was also retired Air Force and getting along in the tooth, and he used to teach how to build crab nets and shrimp nets.
Wow!
So because that was his thing, he would go to the causeways and drop a trap into the water and catch his dinner, and he taught other people how to do that. So, whatever is of interest, pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you're doing, because you're still teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I expect, I'm 73 now, so I figure 2 or 3 more years of teaching and then I'll leave, assuming I'm physically and mentally able.
Because that you really can't sell. Rhonda wants to almost to predict her future. You can't do it. I know several gentlemen who were thriving right up to 102. Mm-hmm. In fact, I've got one friend here in town that's 103, and he gets around and he's, he keeps himself busy. Mm-hmm. I guess the answer is don't assume that you're going to roll over and die at any particular age, because you have no idea unless you're already terminal. Mm-hmm. Just stay busy with whatever excites you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have been trying to do that. The one thing that I do think will eventually get me is that this is a big house. And obviously other people have bigger houses, but it's a big house for a woman and a cat. And so at some point, it's going to be too much for me to take care of.
Yeah.
So that concerns me, because I don't want to end up in like a nursing home or something where you share a room with another bed partner, or not a bed partner, but another bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
there's a point of wisdom that I've heard often, and did it myself, was that if suddenly there's a death and your life is suddenly changed like that, don't do anything serious. Don't make any serious decisions for a year.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. Yeah. I waited the year, and then I sold the house and moved into a small apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't really done anything, in that first year that was earth shattering. I did have men come in to help repair things, because I have no skills as far as repairing anything in a house. So, but I did that whether I was going to stay here or sell. I would like to stay here because this was our home together. But at this point, I can stay here. But I'm also aware that I, at some point, may not be able to.
Right.
So, yeah, because I'm on 4.5 acres too, so that has to be taken care of.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a plan B and work that out, what that plan is. But wait a year. Has it been a year?
Yes.
Oh, it's been almost 2 years.
Almost 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting to the point where you can make earth-shattering decisions if that's what you really want to do. You're perfectly comfortable where you are. You may want to stay a while. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I am comfortable here, but I'm also aware that, every year at this age, it's, you've got to be ready for drastic change.
Right. Where would you go if you move?
Well, I don't know that I'd leave Vermont, because this was, again, where we lived together. If I did leave Vermont, I would go to Connecticut, where the family is. The same town, probably get a condo. But that would take a bit of work, so. Yeah. So I think the advantage here is that I am aware of the possibility of these things. And, that's better than, being taken by surprise. It's like, oh, gee, I can't take care of the house anymore. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to not understand that is going to happen unless you're really unusual. So I am aware of the stuff. And right now I'm okay. And so I'll stay here for now. And I hope I can stay for the rest of my life, but I don't know. I will be buried with him. He's... and
I will be buried with my wife as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll mention that book that Rhonda and I wrote together again along this line. The title is "What Now?" ? A Roadmap for 80-year-olds and Beyond. Ronda Chervin and Albert Hughes, and it's En Route is the publisher.
Oh, okay. I'll tell.
And it's and you can get that. I assume you can get that on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I had written down the first part. I didn't hear "and beyond." But
Yeah,
yeah, I had
right.
already written the title down. So yeah, I will. I'll get hold of that and read it. So
Yeah, and anyone who's listening to these conversations and is facing the same issues, I encourage them because we together, Rhonda and I had worked out this whole issue of what now,
mhm.
and so anyway,
Yeah, and it's important. You can't just keep living as if you think life isn't going to change. Life changes, for
yes,
good or for bad. You got to be aware of that.
yeah, I will warn people of one thing though. But it was a case we had here in Corpus Christi of a woman who sold her home and moved to Houston to be with her son,
Mm-hmm.
and he left Houston.
Oh,
And so she finally came back to Corpus Christi, but now she doesn't have her house. She lost many of her friendships, all her connections. It was an utter disaster. So beware of moving dependent upon someone else being there,
yeah.
because other people have their own lives.
Yeah. Well, if I moved back to Connecticut, I lived in Connecticut most of my life because that's where I was with my first husband. And,
Mm-hmm.
so Connecticut has a much quicker pace that I'm no longer eager to be in. But there are places that are senior centers or, the senior housing, not like nursing home, but like condos that are just set up for elderly people. And I could
Yes.
see doing that. And as long as I can still drive or find someone to drive me, that wouldn't be a bad situation because I lived in Enfield, as I said, for decades. So sometimes I actually go down there. It's only a couple of hours to see some friends and also just to go to the regular stores that I used to go to, so,
Yeah.
but
And that's a key point. Where are your friends?
yes.
The people you
Yeah.
depend upon and can depend upon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And remember that they're getting older too.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true. But yeah, it's certainly a big change, but I think that the advantage that I have is that I'm being realistic about it.
Yes.
I never would have dreamed. Bill had more life in him than multiple people put together. I mean, he was full of life. And then all of a sudden, heart attack, bang, heart attack, bang. Three heart attacks in 5 weeks.
Mm.
And we knew he had a bad heart. He had a defibrillator, but never would I have expected him to have 3 heart attacks in 5 weeks. And the last one,
No.
So the first one, I think I told you, I carried him out to the car because he couldn't
Yes.
get down the stairs. I never would have believed I'd have that strength because I'm not a strong woman. But I got him in the car. I got him to the hospital the next time, and they actually flew him by helicopter to Dartmouth. And he was in rough shape. He had 18 IVs in him when they finally let me see him. And then he had another heart attack a couple of weeks later, and he was in the hospital here. They had a cardiac intensive care opening, which they didn't the first time. The third one, he didn't feel good. And they sent him to Hartford Hospital because there were no cardiac beds up here. And I went down with him, and the next morning when I went to go see him, we saw each other. We told each other we loved each other. We kissed. I had to go for breakfast because it was too early for visiting hours. I got back there. I was probably with him 5 minutes when he died. And it was like, wow. And they did.
Yeah.
They tried to bring him back. They worked CPR for 35 minutes. But and he had wanted that. But then a doctor came out and told me that he hadn't had any oxygen in 35 minutes. So if he lived, he wouldn't know he was alive.
Yeah, right.
I could not do that to him just to make me
No.
happy. So I let him go. That was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. And I think to myself all the time, did I do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
But he'd had 3 heart attacks in 5 weeks. I'm thinking, why wouldn't he have another 2 in the next week? I didn't want to put him through that. And I didn't want to put him through being alive and not knowing he was alive. It's like, oh, awful.
Yeah. No, I from what you told me, you certainly must have done the right thing. Change the subject here. I am a spiritual director. If you need to call and talk to somebody, here I am.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really do. So yeah, it's been a tough time, but I guess I'm stronger than I thought I was. Because I expected once he died, once I saw him dead, I thought, oh, that's it. But here I am 2 years later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And doing well.
Well, doing okay. Yeah. I think I'm okay. I work every day. I go out with Bill has a cousin I've become friends with, Donna. We go out to eat, and I drag her along when I go to Joann's or Michael's to get more yarn.
Yeah.
So I'm not isolated, and I'm now, for the first time in ever, really, I'm a daily communicant at my church, and I love the priest there. He's wonderful.
Good.
But still, it takes time to. I don't know if you ever totally heal from this, but hopefully you do.
No, the pain goes, but the memories don't.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want the memories to go, because I had good memories with him. Very good memories.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
Okay. Call anytime.
I will. I appreciate that. And you take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.